Welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Hey guys, hope you're watching here on YouTube. If not, thank you for downloading the podcast and giving us a listen here. I actually did the math. We are up to 3 weeks for 20 weeks this season, so this is week 2 of 3 weeks.
Week 2 of 20?
Week 2 of 20.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't think we want to do a countdown for how many 3 weeks we have.
Nope.
Thanks.
Hey, no.
Thanks, Mom.
That's what the audience has to look forward to.
Keep that shit to yourself.
It's rough for us.
Should not have told me that.
We're going to come in here. We are 3 weeks for the next 19 weeks for you guys. We're going to cover all preseason content here. One of us at least is going to watch every single preseason game, give you a rundown of what happened. We're going to try to break that down to 5 to 6 games an episode here until we're through all the preseason episodes. So it'll be the next, 12-ish by my math?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then that'll get us into the regular season. And for these 2 episodes here that we've got here Monday and Wednesday, we're going to go ahead and talk draft strategy and then give you guys a mock since it's been about a month.
Can I let you in on a little secret?
What's the secret?
When you said next 12 weeks or whatever about your math, I just agreed and didn't even try to think through
12
it.
episodes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a rough early afternoon for us today.
Yeah.
So we are.
This is better than mine, though. At least you guys are hungover. I'm
hot
tired from
BFF
work.
with 2 Ps.
Yes, we're Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. You got Christopher Hopper there who gave you his Twitter handle. We got Dan Theory across from me.
At 30 BFF.
I am at Nick Sparts. We did cross 3,000 followers on our main Twitter handle, so thank you so much for everyone who's following along.
Thanks, guys.
Celebrate.
You guys.
You can also follow that same handle, Beerfield FF, on Instagram and Untapped if you want to see can art and get beer reviews for all the beers we drink on the show. And if you want to see us on YouTube, go ahead and follow us, Beer Fueled Fantasy Football, and give us a subscription there. Let's go ahead and hit a beer preview and get into this long episode. Beer Fuel. And we've got Red Rocket Ale, or as I typed here, Red Socket Ale by Bear Republic. I think we're just renaming it at this point.
Yeah, in honor of Andy Dalton.
This is Bear Republic's second time on the show. Gap was about 145 episodes between the two of them, so they were definitely due to come back on. Based out of Cloverdale, California. And it, by their description, it is a bastardized Scottish-style red. Comes in at 6.8%, and we'll give you a full review when we're through about half of the preseason games. News. All right, and we are at the time of the year. We're in training camps, preseason. All the news is bad. All of it.
Injury time.
Starting off with the big one, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Redskins second-round running back Darius Geis suffered a torn ACL in Thursday's preseason game against the Patriots. It was originally diagnosed as an MCL sprain, but MRI revealed it to be a full ACL tear. He is already on IR.
This is so bad. I mean, he was shown laughing and talking to people, and he seemed so good-spirited. I mean, and then he got his MRI, and then everything just
came crashing down
like the Titanic. It was so bad.
It just sank, and some combination now of Samaje Perine, Rob Kelly, and Chris Thompson, who's not going to be 100%, are going to take this workload.
And Capri Bibbs.
Oh yeah.
Well, 2 of those running backs look good. We'll get to that later.
I know which 2. I looked at the box score because I was redoing stat projections. I know which 2, and I'm really satisfied by the one that didn't.
Isaiah Crowell left Friday night's preseason opener against the Falcons with apparent head injury. It was while scoring a touchdown that he ran. You basically used his head.
Cam Newton it.
Yeah, he ran through 3 people using his head.
So we Mr. Staked it.
He did Mr. Stake it.
He Staked it.
So stiff arms first off work wonders. Shoulder maybe lead with that. Yeah, I'm less concerned about this. Concussions can be lingering or long term, but more often than not, it's usually about a 1-week ordeal. So
yeah, 2 usually at the longest for most people. Concussions obviously bad for the long term, but I don't recall a concussion issue with him in the past.
No. Yeah, I don't recall any priors, so should be okay.
Matt Breida avoided structural damage in his shoulder injury. He's expected to miss the rest of the preseason and be ready for week 1.
Sounds more precautionary than anything if there's no structural damage, so that's good news, I guess, but you gotta... slower start at the beginning of the season, and couple that with the news that just broke, and
we need a breaking news button.
We've needed a breaking news button for a while.
Breaking news.
That almost sounded like the horn I had.
So Jerick McKinnon apparently went down to practice today. he got back up. No cart was needed. He was gingerly walking. It was a knee-related issue, but
Non-contact, but it looks...
it sounds like it's okay, but keep an eye on that. Something's probably going to break between when this episode drops and when we record it.
Depends when he gets his MRI on it.
So keep an eye on the health of the 49ers backfield.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yep.
And then one I forgot to write down here as well. Marlon Mack had a hamstring injury that got him out of the game. It's not expected to keep him out of any regular season action, but he might be done for the rest of the preseason.
He looked really good. More on him later, but by later I mean like Friday. But
In a future episode.
in a future episode. But yeah, he looked really good before the hamstring injury happened. It was actually off of another, really good run where he showcased his vision, his strength, and his speed when he pulled up with that.
All right, moving on to the wide receivers. Colts wide receiver Deion Kane, who's having a fantastic training camp, much to my chagrin, is out for the season with a torn ACL.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
They need it too there.
It's Hilton and Ebron and Jack Doyle, and they need a wide receiver too, and nobody else stepped up besides Kane. So
The only other one who's gotten any buzz at all has been Ryan Grant, and Kane was getting more.
Yeah, and having watched that game, nobody jumped off the page. So, it was luck to T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle, pretty much.
NFL Network's Mike Garofalo reports that wide receiver Robert Davis suffered a torn ACL at Saturday's practice. I did hear that this was actually not an ACL, but it is still season ending. I heard it was a broken leg and LCL.
Wow.
Oh, geez. Washington having
Washington having a bad time.
some tough chances here.
Yeah, Washington caught whatever Los Angeles/San Diego has had.
Now it's their turn.
But yeah, so he was a kind of a lower profile player, but he was fighting for the wide receiver 4 or 5 spot and was getting some pretty good reviews from the last 2 training camps.
It's catching buzz.
Well, and they really need even a 3 though right now. So
Don't believe in Paul Richardson.
no, or Josh Jackson, one of the two. I don't believe in one of them.
Yes, between the 2 of them, you have 1 receiver.
Yes, yep, that's where I'm at.
George Kittle avoided structural damage in his separated shoulder. He should be ready for week 1.
That's good news.
He needs to stop getting banged up, though.
Yeah,
this is
a lot
starting
of
to be
that
a pattern.
last season.
It was a problem last year too, because when he was on the field, he performed well. So, it doesn't hurt my hype for what I think he can be at all. But watch it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern that this may start turning into a Jordan Reed situation where he's just always banged up.
All right, Fred.
It's
something.
Probably enough for Njoku to jump over him in my dart throw second-year tight ends.
All right. Any other news that I missed?
I don't think
Not
so.
that I can think of.
All right. Let's start hitting some game previews.
What the hell happened?
I'd just like to point out that you've titled this segment Game Previews, and it's kind of more of a review
Oh.
since it already happened.
I did. Game recap. Let's go with that.
Game Previews.
After,
After the fact previews. We know everything. We know all.
just drop the P.
All right. So I'm going to kick it off with the
Don't
first
know
game
what
here.
that was.
I don't either.
Go ahead.
We're going to go Buccaneers at the Dolphins. Bucks won 26-24, and it was actually kind of an exciting preseason game. Like, it went down to the wire where the Bucks the Dolphins could have come back and won this game. So for the Buccaneers, starting receivers only saw 2 drives. That was Godwin, Jackson, and Evans. Each saw at least 1 target, I believe. Godwin and Evans saw 2 each. They basically did what I expected with it. Godwin missed one of the 2, but it was just a crazy catch attempt that he almost got in, so I don't blame him for it. Brate did not see a single target until Winston came in the second quarter. So that Fitzpatrick doesn't use tight ends thing still seems to be continuing.
Yeah, I mean, that was real. That's about, Fitzpatrick taking over for Winston's shoulder injury is what coincided with Brate not performing last year. So
if you're drafting Brate, at this point, I just probably wouldn't because I don't expect him to see any use the first 3
You don't
weeks.
have to draft any of the tight ends there.
no,
Just grab them off waivers
Grab 'em
after
off
week
waivers.
2 or 3.
Yep.
Barber looked much more comfortable as a back than Rojo. Jones's touchdown run was the only thing that I saw that looked really good. It was a great one cut, find the hole, power into the end zone type play. Everything else, he looked really uncomfortable. He had a bad drop. Just overall did not look comfortable, whereas Barber looked great in all
How
his
did the
carries.
O-line look? That's a big question, I think, when it comes
O-line-
to Rojo, too.
O-line with the first team looked pretty solid. Second team was significantly less so.
Okay.
I kind of noticed that as a trend watching through some of these games with the rookie running backs is that they either looked hesitant or like nervous or something with their first game action. So it'll be interesting to see if Rojo can, kind of pull a Ryan Nall, who we'll talk about later, and bounce back in his second game.
All right, and then show favorite Justin Watson looked solid for all 3 of his catches, but then he was going to the ground and had a really bad fumble. So that hurts him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't expect much from him this year, but still sucks.
he still should be 4th in that pecking order, I would think.
He was the 4th guy out.
Receiver out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, on to the Dolphins. Stills had 3 targets in the first 10 plays. Very heavily used, and that was 10 plays was all Tannehill was in for. So overall, looks like he's going to see a lot of usage. Parker did not see a target.
Yeah, that's kind of matches up with what we've been hearing out of camp.
Somehow I'm not shocked by this at all.
I'm not either.
Stills has Jump Parker in my rankings now.
He will when I
Wow.
finish reprojecting things.
All right, Sonorise Perry was significantly more dynamic of a runner than Ballage. They were kind of trading off work in the second and third quarters. He had significantly better shiftiness and vision and just ran with more authority. Ballage had a lot of the similar issues we saw with in college where he was dropping the helmet. He didn't seem to recognize where to adjust. He just basically tried to run as fast as he could towards the hole and put his head down. He also had a really bad fumble. He was trying to hurdle somebody and his own knee caused the fumble.
He's 6'1", 226, 230, trying to hurdle somebody. It'd be funny to see.
I don't know that any of these guys are necessarily relevant in redraft leagues and in Dynasty. It's Ballage's first game action. If you invested in him for some reason, then just don't think too much of it. And Sonorise Perry's been a journeyman. He was with the Bears for a long time. He got brought in because of his familiarity with Gase's offense. So
that seems to be Gase's move, is just to bring people in he's seen before.
Yep.
All right, Gesicki had a great play where it was a terrible pass by Osweiler into the end zone, and he still almost went and got up and got the touchdown. Like, he had no business almost making that play.
It's just what he does.
So that's not showing up on the stat sheet, but he did flash on that one target. That's the only target I think I saw him have the entire game. I tried to keep an eye on him. But yeah, that one play was like, okay, you got some talent to go up and try to get that.
We knew that already,
What is
though.
this last note?
Isaiah Ford and Francis Owusu flashed as receivers in the second half.
Bless you.
Isaiah Ford had a great touchdown catch and then immediately scored the 2-point conversion on the next play. So back-to-back scores there.
Yonta Crew.
And Owusu he was constantly making downfield catches.
Well, there's opportunity at wide receiver here. So.
Yeah, he's an undrafted free agent out of Stanford. Showed some great speed. He was not even on my radar, and then I just kept seeing him make play after play. I'm like, all right, I got to write that name down because this is getting ridiculous.
Owusu or Ford?
Owusu. We knew who Ford was.
Yeah, we knew who Ford was.
He didn't double catch anything?
He did not double catch a single one.
Huh.
So both them flashed pretty well. Crew had 1 or 2 catches, but he was not used nearly as much as Ford and Owusu were.
Right. So what we do know about Ford from college is that he was really good at adjusting to the ball, really good at going up and getting it, but his hands were really suspect, which is the reason we kind of
he didn't profile the best athletically either.
He didn't really profile well, so but he did have some talent we saw in college, so that's probably worth keeping an eye on too.
Yeah, he's kind of James Washington with worse hands.
Yeah, more or less.
All right.
Yeah.
So Dan, you didn't put your notes down here, so I'm not going to have any follow-up questions for you. But
my bad. Well, I mean, it's been a long week.
So Panthers at the Bills. Panthers win 28-23. What do you think of each of these teams?
All right, so we'll start off with the away team with the Bills. The big thing here is just the 3 quarterbacks. Peterman was the first to play out there. He looked fantastic. First series, 7 for 7, 75 yards, and a beautiful touchdown pass to Calvin Benjamin, who made a couple nice plays to get into the end zone. His one lone incompletion, which was a tip off of Ivory's hands into someone from the defending team's arm. So his one lone incompletion was a pick, but Peterman looked great, looked sharp, he looked comfortable, he made a lot of quick decisions. He looked a lot better than what we saw last year, and even better from what I saw on tape from him. As for A.J. McCarron, he looked okay. He started off a little bit slow, then he got into rhythm, started making some nice throws. He had a beautiful down-the-field pass to Rod Streeter that just missed him because Streeter got held. Josh Allen, though, stood out. He didn't look great, but he definitely didn't look as bad as most people thought he would look. The first play that was called for him was a play action bomb that went about 60 yards, hit perfectly into the receiver's hands, 2 yards out of bounds, which is pretty much what Josh Allen, like that right there is the epitome of what Josh Allen may be for his rookie season. A lot of flashes, though. Outside of his obviously one bad 4th down play that keeps getting looped over and over again on Twitter.
And that irks me anyway that one's getting looped over and over again. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was running for his life at that point.
The O-line looked terrible
Just trying to
at
get
that
rid
point.
of the football.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a bad play, but it was on 4th down. He was trying not to lose more yards for his team, so you saw why he did it. But there, he made some questionable throws. He also made some fucking laser tight throws. You got to see his upside there. He's not ready yet, but you got to see a little bit more. Outside of that, no one else really stood out. Benjamin obviously had a nice game, but Marcus Murphy's a name I think we can maybe start to put on the watch list in Deep Dynasty leagues. Right now, he's the RB4 for the Bills, but the Bills really don't know who their RB2 is right now. We all think it's Ivory, but he didn't start. It was Cadet started, and then it was a lot of split time between him and Cadet. None of them did anything. Obviously, Ivory had a broken play that went for a nice yardage, but that's because the defense broke down. But Murphy had a nice game, 7 for 35 and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 30 yards through the air. He stood out a little bit more, got a lot of run in the second quarter and then beyond. Other than that, no one else really did anything. Moving on to the Panthers. First team was okay. Newton struggled as I would expect here, and especially North Turner's offense was a lot of 5-7 step drops. I don't know how the offensive line is going to look.
Have you taken a breath yet?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get through it, but I don't know if you guys want to.
Oh, I keep going.
Okay.
I mean, there are things I would have liked to have said on the Bills, but
All right.
keep
Well,
going.
no, sorry. Here, let's go back to the Bills.
I mean, you kind of answered it, but with Josh Allen, if you're looking for a dart thrower, just keep an eye in quarterback and Superflex or whatever. Keep an eye on those guys. And Nathan Peterman, I'm sure you can probably snag for free. And what you've heard out of camp and what Dan just said that you saw there, that jives completely. So if Peterman keeps performing, this is not McCarron's job.
No,
I didn't think
it's
it's Josh
was.
Allen, but this is not McCarron's job, despite them, signing him to come in or anything like that.
I mean, they didn't pay him a ton, so I think it was like $6 million.
Right. And then outside of Benjamin, I mean, what was the pecking order?
I mean,
for
Raj
wide
Trader was
receivers?
out with him. Andre Holmes was the 3. Obviously,
Zay
Zay
Jones
Jones
didn't
didn't play.
Yeah.
You're not going to see Corey Coleman. He just got traded there.
Gotcha.
Other than that, Raj Trader made a couple nice plays. He got hurt in preseason last year, but there's a lot of buzz around him through training camp as well.
Okay. That was all I had.
Yeah, sorry. So Panthers first drive, Cam Newton struggled. Little bit of inconsistency with his accuracy. Obviously, he's going to look good while running the football. Christian McCaffrey got a goal line carry
And converted.
that he punched into the end zone. He looked good. He had a fumble that didn't get called for a fumble because they ruled forward progress. So, like after about 2 seconds, it was really weird.
He got bailed out.
Yeah, he got extremely bailed out. DJ Moore looked really good, but he did. He's the 3 right now. He is playing the slot in 3 receiver sets here for the Panthers. Torrey Smith is all their outside receiver starting, so I'm not super shocked there. But Moore looked good, 4 for 75. Showed off his yak ability, which is what made him stand out at Maryland. And also made a couple nice adjustments on comeback routes. Curtis Samuel got targeted a lot, though. I mean, it won't.
I'm assuming that was by
I didn't
backups.
see it, but yeah, and I think Cam played 2 series, and that was about it. I forgot who the backup was, but he looked like garbage. I don't really care at this point who he is.
It's Derek Anderson.
Derek Anderson.
It wasn't Derek Anderson.
Oh, no, that's
Gilbert.
right.
Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert. He looked terrible the first half. Started to settle down and look better in the second half. Some of note, though, is that Cameron Artis-Payne was the second back out.
Not C.J. Anderson.
But C.J. Anderson started the second half, and Cameron Artis-Payne backed him up.
Gotcha.
So it was a little weird.
It looks like they're trying to look at both of them against different defenses to see who's actually going to be the backup.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but it sounds like C.D. Anderson is not going to get handed this job.
It sounds like
No.
CMC is going to be the main lead back, and there was rumors saying not even too long ago that they maybe see him as a 20 to 25 touch guy a game.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
That's nuts. But if he's even 15 touch a game, you're really happy as a CMC owner.
Yep.
Right.
And that's all I got for this game.
All right. Moving on to Bengals at the Bears. Bengals win this one 30-27. There was a lot of offense early on the Bengals side in this one.
Yep. I'm going to start with the Bears. So first off, Cohen was in for 1 carry and I think 2 plays before he went to the bench and stayed there. Robinson didn't play. Howard didn't play. Benny Cunningham wasn't in. Some takeaways from the Bears, though. They used a ton of 2 tight end sets. with both Burton and Shaheen in, and both were running routes. So it wasn't any one defined guy. Both got targeted. Shaheen played later into the game, obviously, later in 2 tight end sets with Deion Sims, and then Bruniker later on. But the consistent theme was 2 tight end sets for the Bears. Shaheen also flashed a lot in the second half, working with Tyler Bray.
So it seems like their strategy is going to be heavily focused on using 2 tight ends to create blocking and coverage mismatches.
Right, and you're not going to know which one's doing what. So it's kind of what we've been saying about the Bears and expecting, really, with that. Now, I don't know if that's because Robinson didn't play, if they used a little bit more 2 tight end sets than what they normally would, or if it was just something that they were trying to work on and how much that'll actually translate. But it is definitely of note and backs up what we've been saying with those tight ends. Trubisky looked like he had an improved sense of pressure. He moved the pocket nicely in his one drive. Did stall out, but that was mostly on the offensive line. The offensive line was just getting mauled. Geno Atkins was making Cody Whitehair's personal.
There's so much you can do with Geno Atkins.
Right. So a lot of pressure, but overall he looked all right. The third running back job is going to be interesting here. Or fourth running back job, I guess. It depends on how much of a Benny Cunningham believer you are. I'm not. So
depends how much special teams UC sees too.
So Cohen is not Howard's handcuff. If something were to happen to Jordan Howard, Cohen is not going to be the guy taking the between the tackles work. It's kind of like a Chris Thompson situation there.
Yeah, he'd probably see a slight uptick, but not a
whole
massive
lot.
Increase.
So this matters is really Jordan Howard's handcuff, because if something were to happen to him, it's gonna be either Taquan Mizzell or Ryan Nall that would kind of pick that up. And they both look good in really their own rights. Mizzell looks like he's faster, especially to the outside, but Nall was really showcasing his vision. They were splitting him out, working him in space. He showed off his hands. He showed off a little bit of tough running, but more so just his vision than anything. Whereas Mizzell kind of flashed every trait, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on with those two. And then shifting over the wide receivers, Javon Wims moved up and played with the second team in this one. Josh Bellamy did not play. And he had one bad drop, but he really found rhythm in the 2-minute drill with Chase Daniel at the end there, and looked very good in that. And then Kevin White actually ran as a wide receiver 1, and this is without Robinson in, and he looked quick. His route running looked polished. He also had a bad drop, but other than that, he showed off some of what made him a number 1 pick. So that could end up being relevant if he's healthy.
So what we're seeing here is that if they want to run 2 tight end sets, you're seeing Robinson, White, and then Shaheen and Burton with Howard in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
With probably some rotation in of Miller.
Yeah, rotation in of Miller. They weren't all 2 tight end sets. Like I said,
of course.
But yeah, some rotation of Miller. Miller was in. He didn't really do a whole lot. There was a screen that got blown up and another one that he ran the wrong route on. One with the first team, one with the second team. So not a whole lot being showcased there, but he was, like Kevin White, he was, they played about the same amount of snaps, same length into the game.
Okay. Anything else on the Bears?
Nope.
All right, move on to the Bengals.
On to the Bengals. Tyler Eifert was the only one absent from this. Josh Malone was the best wide receiver not named AJ Green in this case. Tyler Boyd flashed a little bit. John Ross was having all sorts of problems. He couldn't really position. He fell on a route. He was not really gaining separation. He just generally looked mediocre. Like there's still some polishing that needs to be done. But Josh Malone did some nice work on the sidelines and with his hands.
And he did briefly flash last year, so he's not a complete unknown.
No. If I had to rank it for their wide receiver 2 after this game, it would be Malone, Boyd, Ross in that order. And then Joe Mixon showed off his talent in space. Gio looked a little bit better between the tackles, which, that's where every Bengals running back struggled last year, was between the tackles. And Mixon started to get better at it, but that was kind of something I told myself, hey, I want to watch to see how Joe Mixon is running between the tackles right now. And he was still getting, lit up. Now, the Bears are a good run defense. They were top 10. So that, may have something to do with it. He was running against their starting defense. But he's going to be running against that on Sunday, or running against starting defenses on Sundays too. Teams are just going to wake up and roll out their second line. So need to see more.
Mixon. Backups going.
As a fantasy owner, I always hope.
Yeah. Need to see more from him there. But he did have a really nice touchdown run where they threw it out to him in the flat, and he made a nice spin away, kept his balance, and ran it in. So he looked really good in space.
Yeah, that highlight was quite excellent.
This last one's painful for me.
Okay.
There's something to ask.
Just for
Do you
James.
need a moment for yourself before you say it?
I do. Auden Tate flashed late against something called a John Franklin. He made some nice adjustments to the ball. He showcased some strong hands. I think he earned himself a look against some more tougher defenders. He still wasn't separating or anything like that, but he was, going up and getting it and winning contested catches. So that's worth noting.
That's
All right.
what he does.
Yeah, that's what he's going
That's
to be
what
good
he
at.
did
That's
for
why.
Florida
That's why you
State, too.
keep constantly joking about him moving to
Tight end.
Tight end.
Maybe he should.
He's got to put enough weight on his frame to make that happen.
Yeah, he was playing outside.
Oh yeah, I
All right.
assumed.
All right. Anything else on this game before we hit a beer review?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Well, we're about halfway through. Let's beer review this.
Beer review.
All right. As a reminder, we have Bear Republic's Red Rocket Ale on. It's a 6.8% Scottish red hybrid, I guess, would be the best way I would describe it. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Dan.
It had it's got a nice amber and I think caramel notes to it on the front, with the bit of the hoppiness on the back end, which is what they described in the bottle. Which what you're gonna get. I don't think it tastes like it was 6.7. You said
6.8.
6. It doesn't taste like a 6.8 beer. At least not to me. It does. It's refreshing to that extent, but yeah, you're gonna get a lot of the amber and the caramel notes up front with a nice medium to medium heavy hot finish.
So, yeah, it's definitely got some malty sweetness to the front. It's got a nice roasted taste going up on the end of it, which is a characteristic of red ales because that's where the color comes from. It's roasted a little bit longer, so you definitely get that roastiness though, that malty sweetness. The alcohol does poke its head out.
Yeah, I was going to disagree with Dan. It's got some heat to it.
Yeah,
I don't taste it, but
it's not harsh, but it does poke its head out a little bit at the end, and you get a little bit of like a hoppy bitterness on it.
Yeah, for me, there's not a lot of subtlety on any of the flavors on this one. It is a very in-your-face beer all through the whole thing.
Oh no, I agree with that.
I taste the hint of the Scottish style to it. I taste a lot of heavy red notes, and there's a little bit of heat from the alcohol. So it's all very intense flavors. It's good, very drinkable, but if you like your beers a little bit more subtle, this might not be your style. If you like really intense red flavored beers, this is probably right up your alley.
Which I do.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. But yeah, a lot of in-your-face flavor. You're right about that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bear Republic, for coming on. Sorry for not having you on for 145-ish episodes.
I think part of the problem is just that a lot of their stuff doesn't distribute around here. We get like the same 4 things always.
Yeah.
So this was the first new thing I'd seen pop up in a while.
Well, keep trying to. We are here in Central Illinois drinking your stuff, so send it our way.
Yep.
And we'll talk about it.
All right. Moving on to Steelers at the Eagles. Steelers just whooped the Eagles 31-14.
Jesus.
Starting off with the away team, the Steelers. James Conner was the first running back in. Looked excellent in his early carries. Had a few pass catches as well. Wasn't nearly as dynamic as Bell, obviously, but he was getting downfield, consistently putting up 5-6 yard runs, and just was great in between the tackles. Exactly what I wanted to see out of him. Much closer to what we saw on tape than what we saw last year.
I'm going to wait until your second note before I jump on my high horse.
All right, and then and then they had a couple. They had Fitzgerald Toussaint, Stephen Ridley come in, and then Jalen Samuels was the fourth back in, and it was late in the fourth quarter. He looked very awkward as a runner. Like it was basically Ryan Nault, the Hall of Fame game all over again.
Oh boy.
So wait, you need to tell me that a guy who came in as a tight end / running back / wide receiver without a position doesn't look as good as the guy that's been playing running back his entire career?
I'm shocked by this.
No, Hopper. They do not look the same.
You mean to tell me that the guy that's been a running back his entire life, that was a decent, the hype draft pick coming out of college, that had really good production in college, looks better than the 6'1" no position guy?
Is he even 6'1"?
Yeah, that's what he's listed as.
Is he?
Huh.
So
shocked.
he had one target early. It was a screen pass out to the outside. Nothing happened with it, though.
So, who would you say is the handcuff in this situation?
It's definitely looking like Connor. Though
Is it James Conner?
Is it
Hopper?
James Conner?
Though Toussaint and Ridley also did not look bad. So there may be a solid RB3 there,
We
too.
don't care about them right now.
So wait, the 3 running backs looked better than the guy that's getting hyped up on Twitter as the backup that is not truly a running back.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow. Jalen Samuels truthers are my favorite.
Yeah. He could develop into something. He is absolutely not a
It's
handcuff
not
this
this
year.
year.
All right. Juju reminded us why he's one of the better wide receiver 2s in the league. There was an offside play, so it was just a free play. Landry Jones just took a shot downfield. Juju jumped over the cornerback, snatched the ball to the air, and ran into the end zone.
It's a pretty highlight.
I love Juju.
Yeah,
I know.
it's like, all right, you are really good at football. So
Just in case if you forgot,
Yeah.
he's good
Juju-
at football.
there have been some people trying to take the wind out of his sails a little bit this
Fuck
offseason.
them then.
No, there's nothing to take out of his sales. He's
Exactly.
really good at football and he's really good at life, from what I've seen.
Yeah, Team Juju.
He's just living his best life.
You do you, boo boo.
All the video game stuff and football and playing for the Steelers.
And finding his bike.
I don't love the last part, but
Finding his bike. You don't
finding
love,
his bike.
You don't love that he found his bike?
No, I don't love that he plays for the Steelers, but
No.
I live with it. James Washington actually had a couple nice plays. He looked more polished as an NFL receiver than he did in college. He was actually running some routes that were getting him open as opposed to doing all the body positioning stuff that he was doing in college.
I felt that way about Chark, who we'll talk about later also. It's like they came into the NFL and actually got some coaching.
And actually had an offense that was
Yeah.
able to use their talents. So he it's
Which-
a little late for most rookie drafts now, but from what I saw, he's going to profile better than he was in my rankings.
Cool.
But I was cautious with him because I had some questions about how he'd translate. And then the last one, Damon Patterson flashed really late in the game with multiple big plays. He looks like he may be in line for the wide receiver 4 or 5 spot, which if an injury happens, that actually does have some value. So it's a name worth keeping an eye on.
Any Eli Rogers sightings?
He was not playing.
Okay.
He's still recovering from his injury, and he may be on the pup.
Gotcha.
All right, from the Eagles side, Dallas Goedert already looks like the real deal. He had one bad drop on a crossing route, but he had 5 catches. He had a touchdown. Every play was just him just wrecking people. It was not even fair.
That is amazing.
He immediately translates, and this is really
It's sad that he's
this
behind
may
Ertz.
hurt Ertz slightly because he would looked good enough that he's going to demand targets.
It's unfortunate
Yeah,
that he landed here. So
yeah. If he'd gone anywhere else where they didn't have a
Why did they have to troll Dallas the way they did? Why did
Yeah.
Philly have to troll
So
Dallas?
obviously pending the rest of the preseason, but if this continues, is that going to be a more of a? I forgot where I was going with. Oh, if this continues, is that going to be cause for concern? Does that drop Ertz out of that top tier tight ends?
I think as we discussed when we did our tight end previews, I have already some concern about some touchdown regression for him. And Goddard looks very polished in the red zone already.
Gotcha.
So he may see some touchdown regression. I have a pretty significant gap between Kelsey and Ertz already. And I may move Ertz closer to my tight end for Walker.
Does this bump up once, though, back to his... I mean, he had a 7.5 touchdown rate, which is already remarkable to begin with. But, I mean, the loss of Burton in the red zone maybe was a cause of concern for that touchdown regression, but now you gain Goddard.
I didn't really. I mean, Burton only
I know
had
it's
like
small.
30 targets, and he was a small
He had
portion
four-
of it. So
4 or
I
5
just
touchdowns.
It's 6.
yeah,
That's 6.
6, but yeah, you bring Goddard in, and I didn't really fade Wentz that hard. I still had him at I think low 6, maybe for his touchdown rate. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had him in the high 5s, but I mean, I didn't drop him that much.
I
I just expect some normal regression from him.
yeah, I didn't fade him hard at all.
My
so.
concerns with him are just more to the fact that he's not playing the entire preseason because of his knee concern. So
Yeah,
there's still
yeah,
some
I
injury
know.
concern
That
there.
too.
Yeah.
All right. Corey Clement looked good on his inside runs that he had. He was the second guy up, obviously, behind Ajay. Ajay was done after 10 plays, though. And he actually was returning punts, too, so there may be some return yardage going on there if
So
Sproles
he's the new Sproles?
isn't going to take that role entirely.
Did Sproles play?
Sproles did not play.
Okay.
Ajay only got a few carries. He had 2 negative plays that were delay handcuffs out of a shotgun, which I don't know why you're running Ajay that way anyway.
No shit.
The ones they ran out of the I formation were all excellent.
He is, quote, slow as shit. So I don't know why you're running him out of the shotgun.
Right?
You got to run him.
Yeah,
Teams need to stop doing
you got to run
this.
him out of the eye.
They get too clever.
Or, strong side, weak side. Give him a lead blocker and let him get through
Yeah,
the line.
let him get downfield.
Stop having north-south
You're
runners
gonna have
run east-west.
You're going to have to run Corey Clement out of the
Jesus.
shotgun if you're going to run shotgun.
Or Sproles.
Or Sproles. They're quicker.
And then Smallwood looked pretty mediocre as usual. Shelton Gibson, only receiver who did much of anything because we didn't see any Jeffrey Aguilar or Wallace. I saw nothing out of Hollins. He was on the field, but he didn't do anything. Shelton Gibson did a lot. He had a really nice double move for a deep touchdown. So if something happened to Wallace, it may not be Hollins. It may be Gibson.
Oh, we'll see.
Just something to keep an eye on.
Yep.
I mean, not doing anything is better than what John Ross did. So
this is true. He did play. Hollins was in there for about 3 quarters though and did nothing.
Ooh.
I'd rather you do nothing than try to do something and look bad.
All right, Browns at the Giants. Browns 20, Giants 10.
Pull up my notes. All right, we'll start with the Browns again. This was probably my favorite game I watched besides watching the Vikings and Broncos game. We'll start with the quarterback battle. I don't think it's much of a battle right now. Both quarterbacks look fantastic. Tyrod was a beast, going 5 of 5, 99 yards and a touchdown. Played 2 series. His second series, he did a no-huddle run, which was fantastic. He went 3 for 3 on that drive, 63 total yards, and a beautiful deep shot in the Njoku for his first touchdown. Then he was out of there after 2 series. Like I said, Baker came in. Baker looked fantastic as well. His first series, a little slow. They were backed up in their deep in their zone, so he didn't really do much. But after that, his second series, which I think looked his best, he really settled down. He made a lot of great decisions. Also had 2, I think, runs on that drive. Both went for first downs, 1 on a third down, 1 on a fourth down. Really made him, look why he was a 101 pick. Great, beautiful throw to Njoku in the end zone at the end of that drive to cap it off on a beautiful touch pass about 7 yards away from the zone. Funny note on that is Njoku threw that ball into the stands and immediately got thrown back at him. It was pretty good. So overall for Bakers, they went 11 of 20 for 212, 2 touchdowns, so over 10 yards an attempt. Callaway and Chubb, on the other hand, looked slow. Started out slow. Chubb struggled. I know there's a lot of stats out there saying he had 26 yards after contact and only went for 11 yards total. Just like with the Eagles, as we just mentioned, a lot of shotgun draws, a lot of just draw plays in general. They did the worst thing ever of shotgun stretch play. I don't know. Like I said,
who hired John Fox?
Who the fuck? Stop having north and south runners run east and west first. It is fucking stupid. The O-line didn't give him a lot of chances, though. This is why Chubb struggled. But as we mentioned before, he just looked a little bit hesitant. He didn't really do what he normally does, and that's make a great vision play, one cut and go.
And again, rookies in their first action, so just something to keep an eye on, but not panic about yet.
And I wasn't having a ton of expectations for Chubb and redraft this year anyway, so I mean, I'm just going to watch him develop.
Yeah, and then as for Antonio Callaway, who's getting a lot of buzz, he had 3 drops to start his game, including on a 2-point conversion from Baker. It just seemed like he was just not quite there, ran a couple bad routes, didn't do what Baker wanted him to do. Then halftime came around, second half started, and he looked a lot better. They got him involved in a screenplay that got him going right away. And then he hooked up with Baker on a 54-yard touchdown catch and run where Baker waited a couple seconds on an inside slant route that he took to the house. Got to see why Callaway got the hype that he has. As for that, though, also have Njoku, 2 for 42 and 2 touchdowns, showing his upside as a big touchdown guy. Rashard Higgins played because Landry played his 2 drives. And then it was just him, and it was Landry, Higgins, and then Callaway played the 3 a little bit. But no one else really stood out there.
All right, and then so sounds like Callaway got some hot cold with him going on.
Yeah, and again, it could have been nerves early on in first NFL game action. If he settled down, that's cool, but keep an eye on that, and then just be weary of the oncoming suspension and the eventual Josh Gordon return. Also, could all play with that.
It was just nice to see him kind of bounce back from a abysmal start for him. And then as for the Giants, Barkley first run goes for 39 yards. After that, he showed great vision on that one big play. You got to see the highlights that we all pointed out to during our rookie previews. But after that, you got to see some of the things that people knocked him for. He tried to bounce runs outside a little bit too much. I would love to see him use his size more, and he didn't really do that. But like I said, it's the first game. He finished 5 for 43. The first team offense looked like fucking garbage. Davis Webb was horrible. Obviously, Odell didn't play. Sterling Shepard saw maybe a series or two, and then he was gone. No one else really stood out.
Manning wasn't in there.
Manning played.
Oh, did he?
One series, and then he was done. And then Davis Webb came in, didn't do shit. Neither did Kyle Lauletta, who came in late into that game.
Yeah, the news on Kyle Lauletta has just been generally not good anyway.
Yeah, it's bad because of how bad Davis Webb looked. Jay Sue was the second back out there. He did split some time with Barkley, and then Gallman got the majority of the run with the 2s and 3s. And that was really much it for the Giants. Not much happened here.
So it was a pretty ugly game overall.
It was, no one did anything of note.
Yeah, when we get to Rams-Ravens, I forget that's Wednesdays or Fridays episode. That's the Rams are very similar, where like nothing happened.
Yeah.
All right. Last game we're going to cover on today's episode is going to be Titans at the Packers. Packers 31, Titans 17. There was a lot of scoring on the Packers wide receivers, but I'm assuming you're starting with the Titans.
Yeah, hold on. Why does it say Saints Jaguars?
I see Saints Jags.
Oops, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. We'll get to that one Wednesday. Saints Jaguars.
I was gonna say, no, I'm covering that
so
one.
Same with self promotion. Check out Wednesday's episodes for Titans Packers.
There it is.
There you go. All right, starting with the Saints. Drew Brees, Cam Meredith, Ben Watson all did not play. Traquan Smith played most of the game. You're in with Ted Ginn opposite Michael Thomas in the first team. He looked as expected. He didn't really light the world on fire or anything like that, and he was mostly blocking late in the game. As they tried to get some other guys worked in. Early on, though, he made a couple nice catches over the middle, but catches that you're supposed to make. Nothing spectacular. He just looks solid. Josh Hill flashed a bit at tight end, catching passes in the absence of Ben Watson, so he flashed some last year, too, in that role. It's just something to keep an eye on. Don't go draft him or anything. The real interesting thing here, though, that I think is redraft relevant, who's going to fill in for Mark Ingram? So the way that it fell out, Shane Vereen was the 3, clearly. And then they started rotating Jonathan Williams and Terrence West. And then you saw a little bit of Boston Scott also, not a lot. But Williams was the last running back up. He ran the hardest and flashed the most, but it was against, no-name 4-string defenses. So take that for what it's worth. Vereen didn't do anything. He looked kind of crappy. West, same thing. If I had to rank it, it would be Jonathan Williams. Why do I have Thomas in here? Boston Scott, Terrence West, Shane Vereen, as far as the order of who looked good doing what.
They were so bad, Michael Thomas is looking like he might be the running back.
Yes.
Well, they want to get him involved more.
But, yeah, not a whole lot there. Flipping over to the Jacksonville side.
Kind of the better question might be,
yeah,
is there any, even if Williams wins this job, are you excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him in preseason against some higher end defenses, see how he looks. But yes, he did show me enough playing against bottom end guys that I would be okay with that as, a flex play or whatever while Ingram's out.
And Sean Payton really wants to not give Kamara any super mass amounts of.
He never wants to give anyone.
I know. But it makes sense because they do expect to make a deep playoff run. So you want to keep him fresh.
Kamara and Ingram each had one series. All right. Flipping over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Keelan Cole did not play, or at least not that I saw.
He did not. That's correct.
So you had Dante Moncrief, Marquise Lee, Dede Westbrook working as the top 3 wide receivers, which is kind of expected. Chark was rotating in as the 4th. Chark, Westbrook, and Moncrief all impressed for different reasons. Moncrief was working more over the middle than he ever did with the Colts. He was showing off some better hands on some inside crossing routes and some slants, working more as of a true wide receiver 1 position than a field stretcher. Marquise Lee was just Marquise Lee. Dede Westbrook, though, made some nice plays downfield. Showed ability to track the ball, good after the catch ability. He was targeted. And then DJ Chark looked like more than just the field stretcher he was at LSU. He was, fighting for extra yardage. He was catching passes underneath, adjusting to balls well, working the sideline. Definitely flashed some chops there. So it's still going to be a mess there. My money is still on Marquise Lee and then Dede Westbrook as being the 2 that I'd want to own, but Dante Moncrief kind of jumped up a little bit in there as well to say, hey, okay, maybe he is the Allen Robinson role.
And then you pair that with some of the Keelan Cole buzz, and this thing gets messy.
Yeah, it's really messy, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But Moncrief looked good, as did Westbrook, and then Chark flashed So
yeah, my general move in the drafts I've done this year for super deep leagues has been if one of them's there late, I grab them. But I'm not targeting the passing game in particular.
yeah, and it could be somebody different week in, week out. So just don't rely on anybody there. But if you want to take a dart throw on one, it's probably recommended. As for the running back 2, TJ Yeldon and Corey Grant split that work. Grant worked more as a receiving back while Yeldon carried the rushing load on that. Both looked quick. Yeldon was running really strong between the tackles. Grant on the outside showed exactly what you saw last year when they'd work him in the screen game and whatnot. So he could have like last year's Corey Clement value, if you will, as they work him in more. And then Yeldon just looks like he's going to catch a change of pace, and then if Fournette breaks an ankle or whatever again.
Breaks one.
Well, doesn't break one, but hurts himself. Bortles looked incredibly sharp in his one drive. So it looked... Those were the reports coming out of camp, though, too, is that after the wrist surgery that, he looks more accurate, like he's throwing easier.
The report was every throw was painful for him, so that probably helps.
Probably that probably did help. But yeah, he looked incredibly sharp in his one drive. More comfortable passing. Leonard Fournette, no ill effects of the ankle injury. He was fast. He showed good vision. He looked a little more agile also. So
he did lose some weight. So
he did lose some weight, and he looked really agile, especially getting outside on some of those runs. So Fournette could be in for a giant season. I'm going to bump him up a little bit, I think.
I can't move him any higher. He's already too high.
And then just reaffirming here what we already know, Tanner Lee sucks at football.
Jesus fucking Christ, this is bad.
3 fumbles, a couple really bad overthrows, no interceptions because he was throwing it way too far past anybody for it to be picked off.
I saw a note on Twitter that like someone praised him.
Why?
I don't like it. Just said Tanner Lee looked pretty good this. I'm like, what?
Tanner Lee looked like shit.
I don't know what the fuck they were watching then.
I don't either.
He didn't look good in college either.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Every time he got hit, the ball ended up on the ground. Like he looked absolutely terrible. He had no sense for pressure at all either when he tried to go out and run, and they looked slow when he did try to run, and then he would get hit and fumble it. So yeah.
So anything happens to Bortles, it's a problem.
Lee was
expected that.
Was the 3, I think.
Who's the 2?
I don't know.
It's not. Who was the 2 last year that was competing?
Henny. He's gone.
It's not him.
Is it? Is it Allen? Could he was the 3.
That's it.
It's Kessler.
Cody Kessler.
Kessler.
No, Cody Kessler looked fine.
Until he gets hurt.
Yeah, no, he like you saw with Cleveland, he shouldn't have been starting, but
he shouldn't.
But he looked fine. He got to work with Chark some and Westbrook some and whatever, and it didn't really hurt the offense. At least not between those drives. I mean, they were still able to move footballs and stuff. So, yeah, Kessler was okay.
All right. Well, that's 6 games for you guys. Hopefully those notes kind of give you an idea of what the landscape's looking like after those first 6 games of preseason 1. We'll get to the last 10 here over the next 2 episodes on Wednesday and Friday.
It's also preseason for us as we get ready for regular season reviews. So
yeah.
Kind of our practice rounds.
I'm getting used to working Sunday mornings again, so while they're hungover, I am trying not to fall asleep.
I will not be hungover a lot during the season, though.
Yes, that'll not be the norm. Let's go ahead and jump into the lounge and talk some draft strategy.
Oh, yeah. This is a direct bridge to Wednesday's episode, too, just so y'all know.
Yep, because we're going to go ahead and do a mock on Wednesday's episode, so the draft strategy will hopefully help lead into that. And we've all done probably, 3 to 5 real drafts so far, a bunch of best balls, some mocks, things like that. So we've done enough drafts at this point. We're mostly comfortable with things.
And we've tried different strategies and kind of figured out what works for us, too.
Yeah.
Yep. So kicking it off first with the quarterback position for draft strategy, where are you targeting quarterbacks in 1 QB leagues in general? And I'm going to do multiple tiered questions off each one of these. So start with that.
In general, I would like to look at round 7-ish, round 6-ish. That's usually where you can grab a Stafford or a Cousins, and you're usually, by that point, you can have one of the top tight ends, your running backs, wide receivers set.
Yeah, for me, I start looking at around 5, like back in 5 or 6. It just depends where I'm at with my first pick. Just to see if a guy like Rodgers or Wilson falls. We're a bit higher on Wilson than other people, so he tends to be there. And if I just don't like what I see from my running backs or receivers, and I like what I have started out so far, I may take a shot on that.
I've done that also, but I was waiting for the next question before I jumped on that part.
Yeah, it's how far would Rodgers or Wilson need to fall for you to take? It sounds like probably round 5 for you.
Yeah.
It just kind of falls with the same question.
So Rodgers usually, if he's there in 4, I've gone for it. But yeah, Wilson and anybody below that, it's round 6.
All right. And then if you get out of the top 12 QB, say you really say all the quarterbacks are starting to go early, where are you going to start taking some of those tier 2 guys? So this would be like Mariota, Mahomes, Goff, Garoppolo, guys like that.
Probably rounds 9 to 12-ish, about 3 rounds later.
Okay.
I'll go get 3 more people, and then I'll look at, Roethlisberger or Rivers or Mariota or Goff or Mahomes.
Yeah, round 8, 9, 10.
Okay. So it sounds like we're kind of starting to push back a little bit on the wait for quarterback for everything because a lot of people are seeming to start taking that strategy, and there's some value to be had at quarterback.
Well, I mean, it just comes down to see how the draft plays out. Obviously, don't try to be on the back end of a QB run. Try to start the actual QB run if you can, and that's kind of where these fall from. Know where you feel comfortable taking these tier 1 guys, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guys.
All right. And then as a follow-up question, since we've started doing a lot of these leagues recently, is how early do you start taking QBs in 2 QB Superflex leagues?
I'm all over the place with this one.
Yeah, second round probably is where I'm looking there for Rodgers, really. And then beyond that, probably, it'll trickle down. But if I miss out on Rodgers in the second, then I'm probably looking 4th, maybe 3rd. Just depends. You got to play the field more there.
Play the field.
Because, in Superflex, everybody feels kind of dirty taking a quarterback early unless you've done a lot of them, and a lot of people haven't. So you can find value if you end up in, the 4th round without a quarterback or whatever. Or Rodgers in the 3rd could fall there when he really probably should be going in the 2nd. So
Yeah, and then Scott Fish was the only one where I've reached and taken.
I was going to say Scott Fish is only one, but that's odd scoring settings. Obviously, it's about as balanced as you're ever going to see for a league, so that's why
I took mine in the 2nd. I was at the turn though.
You got the 2. I was going to say
yeah,
late first, early second.
201. I don't know if that counts.
201. It's the 2nd round.
All right. Where do you feel off is the point where you feel like you've missed a running back? So, like, where in the draft do you start feeling like you've missed the running back ones, or names where you start feeling like you've missed them?
I have this issue a lot because a lot of my draft picks are in the back end of the 1st round, which I fucking hate this year.
I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah, it's at for me. I do a lot of wide receiver starts because I just don't like, and I think I was going to get a running back that comes back in the 3rd round for me, and it doesn't happen. So late 2nd, early 3rd is where it kind of starts to guys like Mixon,
McKinnon,
McCoy, Howard. Those guys start to go, and I kind of Drake with that. It just kind of it tends to vary himself in the.
I definitely don't agree with Drake on that, but
that's what I say, kind of.
So you have RB1, RB2 flex here. So
and I'm starting with the RB1s.
Starting with the RB1s, half the guys you just named are in RB2 tier. So
but they're kind of on the fringe.
Yeah, for me, it's when, really the RB1s, it's about 204 where you start feeling like you've missed 204, 205.
Kind of where Freeman goes.
Yeah, Freeman, Gordon, Fournette, those guys at the back end of the 1st, early 2nd. Usually Howard goes there. And that's about the part where I start feeling like, okay, I missed either the fringe guys or the RB1 guys. It is once you get back past that. So I'm the opposite of Dan. I do a lot of running back. The drafts I've liked the most have been running back starts. Usually picking it pick 1 through 6 or 7.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't get a little more aggressive. Sorry. Like with the injury to guys.
Other way.
Like the injury to the guys really hurt this strategy for me to go. Like even if I go wide receiver heavy start, I can always count on a guy like Guice, to be there, and losing him.
Lamar Miller's been that guy for me if I go running back wide receiver. But that gets when we get into RB2s.
Yeah.
Yep. Where do you feel the drop-off is for running back 2s where you're no longer comfortable with a guy starting as your 2nd running back?
It's Lamar Miller, Alex Collins.
So Collins is starting to creep up into the 3rd now.
He is.
RB1 in our listener league.
It's about round 4, though, because you get down to the 2nd-tier guys, Mixon, Collins. I just lost my train of thought. Mixon, Collins,
the other guys in
Miller,
that area would be like Freeman, Drake, Lewis,
Henry. Once I'm past those guys, I'm not. There's a giant drop off after that to me.
Yeah, it just depends on where you feel, I guess, comfortable with those guys. Because I'm low on, on Henry. I wouldn't take him as my RB1. I've passed on him plenty of times to prove that
because he goes higher before we get to the point where
Exactly.
I'm comfortable taking him in the 4th round.
Yeah, exactly. So rounds 4, 5 is where you start to get really nervous, at least for me. So somewhere mid
Royce
4th.
Freeman, by the way, we didn't differentiate.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Freeman.
Royce
Yeah,
Freeman.
Royce Freeman, not Devonta. Devonta's
It's going fairly
one.
second.
I figured context clues that we're talking about running back twos.
You
and
would hope
Freeman
so.
Would,
Yeah.
You'd
would
hope
clue
so.
people in on that one. But in case you need clarification, yes, Royce, who did look decent in the game. The touchdown run was pretty easy for him.
Yeah, he showed the same traits I liked in college, though. We'll talk about that Friday.
All right. And then where are you starting to look at taking your flex running back, and what are some names you're targeting for that position?
I guess it really depends. Sorry, you can go.
No,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
jump on your feet.
ahead.
So like it really depends how you start. Because I'll look at my flex. So, like if I start wide receiver heavy, I'll tend to try to grab 1, 2, or even 3 running backs in a row, and just try to grab a potential RB1 upside, or not RB1, but RB2 upside. Maybe get lucky with an injury or two. So you're looking at, for me, it's 6th, 7th, 8th round. But even then, I think 8th is a little bit too late. 5, 6, and then 7 around there.
It's 5-6 for me, and that's
Yeah.
just because I'm of the punt wide receiver class pretty much, to where I'm more comfortable taking wide receivers in rounds 6, 7, 8, and in there, because I think there's more depth at that position and potential
there
wide
is.
receiver twos than there are at running back. So if I'm getting a running back flex, I want Lamar Miller in the 5th, or like a Kenyon Drake, who probably not going to get it as your 3rd running back, but guys like that to potentially go there.
All right. So my strategy on this is a little bit different because I've been trying to grab at least one elite receiver in almost all my drafts. And then I often do grab a second one, so that pushes it a little bit later for me. I've been generally targeting more safe players as my flex position, or maybe some guys with some serious upside. So on the safe, I've been getting a lot of Chris Thompson or Duke Johnson. And then for the upside, I've been grabbing a lot of shares of Jamal Williams.
So 6th, 7th round.
6th through 8th, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just can't. It's hard for me to want to wait until the 8th round and draft my 3rd running back.
Marshawn Lynch is a guy that I like as my
Lynch is
He's
another guy I like
creeping
too.
flex.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's starting to creep up borderline running back 2 for me with some of the injuries that have happened already.
yeah.
I've been avoiding the majority of rookie running backs, though, in all my drafts. Outside of, it was Geis and Freeman are the only 2, and now that we've lost Geis.
It is just Freeman
It's
for me.
I think I have one Barkley share because I ended up picking like 6 or 7 in a draft someplace.
I have none.
So
I can't really say that you target Barkley, though, because unless you end up with a mid-first round pick, you're not
Yeah,
going to own
yeah,
Barkley.
yeah, you
That's
don't really
true.
target anybody in the 1st round because it's wherever you're picking pretty much.
Yeah, that's going to tell you.
Especially in those
that-
first 7 picks.
Yeah, those are you'll have like 3 names to pick from wherever you're picking.
Yep.
I'll own them somewhere.
I'm sure I will too, but it'll be just because I land right in the perfect spot in the 1st round.
Yeah, you don't target 1st rounders though. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
All right. So as Drew was freaking out about yesterday on when our draft started, he was surprised that wide receivers going so late. But that's been kind of the norm in the drafts we've seen. It's generally 9 running backs. Usually wide receivers don't start coming off the board outside of Brown until late in the 1st round. Where do you start taking some of these elite receiver options like Brown, Beckham, Hopkins, Allen?
Brown, Hopkins, Beckham for me are all 1st rounders. Brown at 5, Hopkins probably about 7, and then Beckham 9 or 10 normally.
Okay.
But yeah, those elite guys are all 1st rounders and all not going to be there. And then you get into the 2nd tier like Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen that are going to go early 2nd round also. And if you can start out with a top 10 running back, top 10 receiver, you're doing pretty good. But I've kind of found myself when you get down, to like the Demaryius Thomas and Allen Robinson and guys like that I would rather be out on that.
You'd rather just not be taking them?
Yeah, I'd rather just not have to. Because if I'm taking them, it's because I started running back, and then I'm going to rely on one of them with question marks as my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I've been trying to. Well, let's kind of as a follow-up question. Where do you guys think the elite tier drop-off is on wide receivers? Like, where's like the? I no longer have 100% confidence in this guy.
Oh, dog. Probably Cooper, Baldwin, Hilton tier. That's
So
what
the
would be tier 3.
10 through 12 guys.
Yeah, because that's when you
that's-
start getting into. It's not even just them. It's it's them plus quarterbacks plus they don't have the elite
Which
all around traits like the above guys have.
with I'm more confident in Ty after what I saw out of Luck than I am Cooper. Although the knee injury is a little scary, even though there's a lot of upside there. So it's probably a tier above for me is the last one I want to be in, which would be like Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen.
So Evans is about the last one
Mike
that you
Evans,
feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because I think he's most people's 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, if I end up in a 10 through 12 with a Hilton or a Cooper or something like that, then all right. I don't hate it as much as I do dropping to the next tier, but I'm not as comfortable with it.
I'm assuming you would have wanted to start running back if you're taking one of those 3.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't want that in the second round at all. I want to go running back, and then get stuck with one of those 3 because I have some insulation. If I go running back, wide receiver, I would almost rather take my chances on a guy like Alex Collins, Joe Mixon as my second running back in the third round than I would.
All right. And then how are you guys attacking the tight end position? So there's about 2, maybe 3 elite guys, 7 to 8 guys you can be fully comfortable with. How have you guys been attacking this in draft so far?
So for me, I like Gronk. He's going back into the second. I think he's going to keep climbing up as people start to realize that he is the only option in New England. I think he'll end up being a mid-second pick. He's got the upside, of a top 10 receiver, in a tight end position. So you're basically getting the tight end 1. Almost guaranteed. Besides, I guess for Kelsey and Ertz, for me, probably around back into the 4th round for Kelsey, which is not where he's going. He's going mid-third, which is why I don't take tight ends typically that early. Ertz, I don't really feel comfortable until the 5th round. And even then, I'm starting to kind of...
And he's going 4th.
Yeah, so I'm not targeting those guys just because I know I'm not going to get them. As for the other positions, I guess you're 7 through 8 guys.
No, I said there's about 7 to 8 guys total. So that'd be
okay.
So this would be your Walker, Graham, Olsen, Ingram, Rudolph guys.
I like trying to target Walker in that 7th, 8th round. I think is where he's going. Graham, I like the most out of the show. I just love his touchdown upside in that offense and the fact that no other receivers stood out besides Adams and Cobb. Obviously, you can get a top 8 tight end, which is what you want, but they're mostly going in the top 7 rounds. This is where I try to grab one of them. If not, then I would look to grab, a Kittle or a Jack Doyle.
Yeah, I've generally been ending up with, if I get one of the top 8 guys, it's almost always been Walker or Rudolph in the 6 to 8 range, depending on the scoring.
Especially Rudolph now.
Yeah, no, it's the same for me. It's been Walker more often than not. Rudolph, I think I've ended up with Kelsey a couple of places, but
yeah, I think I've got 5 or 6 shares of Walker, and I've got like 2 or 3 of Rudolph.
Yeah, that's where it's been for me too. I'm almost never gonna own Gronk just because I don't want to step up and pay for that with his injury history or whatever.
Also, I've only had one draft where I've been a top 3 pick, and I think that's basically the only time where you're going to own him is if you're a top 3 pick and grabbing him at that 2-3 turn.
Yeah, which I don't think is going to happen anymore.
So I've only had one shot at even having an opportunity to get him.
One shot, one opportunity.
Yeah, and Kelsey more of a chance in the 4th, but still normally not. That's how I end up with Walker a lot in like round 5.
Yeah, especially a lot of leagues are trying to go tight end premium, which I'm kind of enjoying. If you're looking for a twist on your league, I recommend it.
Yeah, it does help balance it out. So.
It does.
Yeah, just add another half point per reception to your tight ends, or maybe like a half point per first down or something, and that kind of shakes it up and makes them a little more valuable. Makes it so if you have 2 elite good tight ends, you might be able to flex one, that type of situation.
Yep. And then if I do miss and I end up dropping down, I'm not taking Trey Burton or anybody like that. It's usually it's been Kittle and Njoku.
Yeah, for me it's been, if I'm going late, it's been Kittle, Ebron, Doyle, Clay are the 4 I'm looking at.
All right.
So that's some draft strategy and kind of what we've seen early in drafts here. If you guys have any questions about the draft process and what we've seen and what you should expect in your drafts, feel free to tweet at us. We are at BeerfieldFF on Twitter. I've been trying to answer any questions I've been getting there. You can DM us there as well. Drop any comments onto the YouTube page. I'm happy to answer questions for you there too. Anywhere else that people should be reaching out to us, you can DM us individually. I'm at Nick Sparts. We got Chris Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps.
Dan Thury.
At Thury BFF.
All right. Anything else we want to shout out here before we call this an episode?
No, should be about it. Right? I think so.
Yeah. Actually, yes, I do have one shout out. The 13-year-old kid in the Senior World Series or Little League World Series or whatever that listed a porn star as his favorite actor. Props to you, first off. But second off, on the comment thread where I saw this, somebody asked, are you not concerned that a 13-year-old has access to porn? Props to the internet for absolutely eviscerating that person. And newsflash, teenagers look at porn. It's a fact of life. So just shout out that kid for being a boss, and shout out to the internet for not letting me down.
Well, the internet restored Hopper's faith for at least one day. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We will be back doing a mock episode and 5 more preseason previews for Wednesday's episode. And then we'll be missing Dan on Friday's episode. So topic to be determined. But Hopper and I will break down the last 5 preseason games. So Wednesday's episode is going to be real Dan heavy. So look forward to that. And
Sorry,
then we
guys.
have no Dan on Friday. So we're trying to...
You're welcome,
We'll give you
guys.
a double dose of Dan for Wednesday.
Whichever you like. Either double dose of Dan or no Dan. We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
We'll look forward to that
Next time
on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya. Peace.